Our United States Constitution isn't just some old document behind a piece of glass, an old parchment barrier and relic of the past. It's a shield, and it keeps the government from running all over you. But did you know we came very close to losing it before it even started? Do you know why the men who conceived it, wrote it, and built it fought for it diligently and relentlessly to get it done? Today we're going to walk together, and I'm going to break down where it came from, how it took shape, and why it is vitally necessary that we defend it today. Stick with me. Part A, the Articles of Confederation, the first try. Before our U.S. Constitution, we had something different. That something was called the Articles of Confederation. Drafted from 1776 and through 1777, the Articles of Confederation were adopted by the Continental Congress on November 15, 1777, and finally ratified by all 13 states on March 1, 1781. This made them officially the first United States government. These articles officially gave Congress, then known as the Continental Congress, the framework to manage the war with Britain after the written Declaration of Independence on 4 July 1776. This governmental framework, although weak, allowed the U.S. to negotiate with the French government, including the ability to secure vital alliance and military aid from France, which came in the form of both naval and ground forces. These forces, augmenting U.S. forces, ultimately made the victory at Yorktown, Virginia possible, in which the British, through General Cornwallis, formally surrendered to General George Washington, thereby ending the Revolutionary War on October 19, 1781. The Articles also gave Congress the power to make rules and ask states for money. At this point, the Articles, as written, purposely avoided the installation of a president or of a strong court system, as these men feared another king. However, the existence of this formal, if weak, government under the Articles was necessary for the negotiations that resulted in the Treaty of Paris in 1783, which officially and formally ended the war. This end included British recognition of American independence and the evacuation of remaining British troops from our U.S. territories, ending with the departure of British troops from New York in November 1783. The victory at Yorktown in October 1781 was a triumph for the young nation, but it also marked the beginning of a new internal struggle. While the Articles of Confederation had provided the framework to win the war, they were never designed to manage a lasting peace. As the smoke cleared after the formal end of the war in 1783, the young country of 13 states settled into a precarious and difficult era. With everything so decentralized, and every state looking out only for its own interests, the social and economic fabric of the nation began to erode. The country lacked basic infrastructure, making travel and the movement of goods painfully slow. We were paralyzed by governance issues, communication breakdowns, and a mountain of unpaid war debt that the Continental Congress had no power to settle. As these difficulties became more pronounced in the mid-1780s, the common man bore the brunt of the failure. Many farmers, including veterans who had never been paid for their service, simply couldn't shoulder the weight of heavy taxes and mounting debt. This frustration eventually boiled over into open protest, with armed groups blocking court sessions in Northampton and forcing the Supreme Judicial Court in Springfield, Massachusetts to adjourn, preventing the foreclosures that were stripping them from their livelihoods. This finally apexed between 1786 and 1787 with the event that forced the founders' hands, Shays Rebellion. The problem was that these articles had no real teeth. They had been written specifically to keep power decentralized. This was a direct result of having escaped a British monarch under whom all power was focused into a monarchy that had evolved into a tyranny. Under that tyrant, the people had no real rights, a major cause for those seeking a new start in the New World. Britain had sent ships and soldiers to the Americas to enforce the Crown's authority. These authorities were abusive to the people who had fled England seeking new lives, creating both injustice and chaos for the inhabitants of this country. Because of this fear of power, the men who wrote the Articles of Confederation found themselves in a position where the Continental Congress was so powerless that they literally had to beg the states for pennies to pay the starving veterans of the Revolutionary War. These were the men who had just bled for our independence. It showed that our fledgling government, as governed under the Articles, had no solid foundation and was non-functional. It couldn't enforce anything, regulate trade, or print cash. This left the 13 states to fight over land, debts, and taxes, nearly resulting in a total collapse. It wasn't one country yet. It was 13 separate arguments with 13 different currencies. States were each printing their own individual currencies and setting up customs houses to tax each other's goods, acting more like foreign nations than unified states. The power of the purse belonged to the states, leaving the Continental Congress authorized to request funds, but with no power to tax, thereby leaving the Continental Army unpaid. This led to massive inflation and trade wars between states like New York and New Jersey, which almost led to armed conflict. Part B, the spark that lit the fuse. The seeds of Shays Rebellion were sown by Revolutionary War veteran Daniel Shays, whose foreclosed farm ignited a desperate movement. Facing unpaid wages and looming land seizures, Shays rallied around 4,000 fellow veterans between 1786 and 1787. Their target was the Springfield Federal Armory, a direct challenge to Massachusetts' aggressive tax collection and debt enforcement. In January 1787, Shays commanded approximately 1,200 to 1,500 farmers in an assault on the Springfield Federal Armory to capture arms. However, the Massachusetts militia drove them back, first firing warning shots, then cannons, resulting in the deaths of 4 rebels, wounding 20, and scattering the rest of the force then present. In February 1787, militia troops led by General Benjamin Lincoln launched a surprise night attack through a snowstorm, crushing the rebels, leaving many, including Shays, to retreat to Vermont. But with a portion of the group continuing to fight before being decisively crushed about a week later, 1788. Shays was granted a pardon in 1788 and returned to Massachusetts. These men, once the defenders of the nation, now turned their muskets on their own state to protect their livelihoods. In doing so, they exposed deep, irreparable cracks in the fledgling government under the Articles of Confederation. This uprising teetered the young nation on the brink of collapse, a nightmare scenario that haunted George Washington. It revealed a government that was fundamentally broken, unable to pay its soldiers, unable to regulate its economy, and unable to quell domestic unrest. For leaders like Madison, Hamilton, and Washington, the rebellion was the final proof that the current government's inability to raise an army and enforce laws, proving that the urgent need for reform could no longer be ignored. Whatever Shays' personal role may actually have been, and historians still debate if his leadership was overstated by Massachusetts elites looking to deflect blame for the economic hardships of the time, the impact of the rebellion remains clear. It wasn't just about one man, it was about the dire economic conditions of the time, veterans still unpaid by the U.S. government for their role in fighting for the government during the Revolutionary War, the foreclosures, and the heavy taxes and aggressive tax collections that fueled a national fire. This was the catalyst, call it a spark. In May 1787, delegates from across the states convened in Philadelphia. They met in secret, sealing the windows against a stifling heat wave to ensure confidential debate, while riots and unrest still simmered outside and elsewhere. The founders were facing a critical challenge, that of balancing individual state sovereignty against the necessity of collective action. They realized the Articles had worked well enough as wartime rules, but they were non-functional for a nation at peace. With no press and no public oversight, they began a process originally meant to amend the Articles, but Shays' Rebellion drove them to a complete transformation, and this was the birth of the U.S. Constitution. Section 2. The Great Compromise. We are now entering the doors of the Philadelphia Convention. Once those windows were nailed shut in Philadelphia, the delegates didn't just tweak the Articles, they scrapped them. They realized you can't patch a foundation made of sand. But building something new meant facing a conflict that nearly ended the United States before the ink was dry. It was a battle between the big states and the small states. Large states like Virginia argued for the Virginia Plan, demanding that power in Congress be based on population. They believed that more people should mean more say. Small states like New Jersey saw this as a death sentence, fearing they would be swallowed whole by their larger neighbors. They fired back with the New Jersey Plan, demanding that every state remain equal. For weeks, the room was filled with shouting. The heat was stifling, the tempers were short, and the convention teetered on the edge of total failure. Delegates were literally packing their bags to go home. It was Benjamin Franklin who noted they were groping in the dark for a solution. Finally, a great compromise was struck. They decided to split the difference and create a two-part Congress. In the House of Representatives, power would be based on population, one rep for every 30,000 people. But in the Senate, every state would have exactly 2 seats, putting the smallest state on equal footing with the largest. This was the first great check on power, the founders' way of ensuring that the many couldn't simply steamroll the few. Section 3, the 3/5 Compromise. Then came the most hypocritical fight of all, slavery. Southern states wanted to count enslaved people to boost their political power, yet refused to give those people any rights. The resulting 3/5 Compromise was a poor deal that left a stain on the parchment, a stain that found no resolution until after the Civil War, a war that was a direct result of the nation's irreconcilable divide over the institution of slavery. Resolution came in the form of the ratification of the 13th Amendment on December 6, 1865, or 160 years ago last month. It's a reminder that this document wasn't born perfect. It was born out of a struggle to unify the different cultures of the North and South, a struggle that we are still refining today. Section 4. The Constitution's 7 articles and the Bill of Rights. As we move deeper into the structure, remember that the founders weren't just building a government. They were building a cage for power. Federalists wanted a strong center to hold us together, while anti-federalists were terrified that without a Bill of Rights, we were just trading one king for a new kind of tyranny. They eventually added the Bill of Rights in 1791, 10 amendments that act as a no-entry sign for the government. The delegates polished this chaos into 7 tight articles in just 4 days. These articles distributed power so no one could assume it all. It was here that Benjamin Franklin famously reminded the room, "We must indeed all hang together, or most assuredly we shall all hang separately." Article 1. Legislative Power, Congress. This article establishes Congress as the nation's law-making body. It creates a bicameral system consisting of the House of Representatives and the Senate. Beyond legislation, it empowers Congress to tax, borrow money, and declare war. Article 2. Executive Power, President. This article authorizes the President and Vice President to lead the executive branch. The President's primary duty is to enforce federal laws. It also defines the President as Commander-in-Chief and outlines the Electoral College process. Article 3. Judicial Power, Courts. This article establishes the Supreme Court and permits Congress to create lower federal courts. The judiciary's role is to interpret laws to ensure they align with the Constitution. To maintain independence, federal judges are granted life terms. Article 4. State Relations. This article is the rules of the road for state interactions. It requires states to respect each other's legal documents, like marriages, and ensures citizens aren't discriminated against when crossing state lines. It also gives Congress power to admit new states and guarantees every state federal protection. Article 5. The amendment process. The founders made the Constitution changeable but intentionally difficult to alter. Proposing an amendment requires a 2/3 vote in Congress. To become law, it must be ratified by 3/4 of the states, ensuring no single region can force its will on the rest. Article 6, National Supremacy, the final word. This is the Supreme Law Clause, the ultimate trump card. It establishes the Constitution as the absolute ceiling of power, meaning no corporation, billionaire, or government agency stands outside or above it. Whether an organization was created by Congress or by administrative policy, it has no lawful authority to exist if it violates due process or individual rights. From the president to your local mayor, every official must take a solemn oath to uphold this document above all other interests. Article 7. Ratification. This was the launch plan for the document. The founders decided the Constitution would take effect once 9 of the 13 states approved it through special conventions. By going directly to these conventions of the people, they ensured the new government's power came from we the people. This article can be thought of as an ignition switch. This was the one-time launch plan for the nation. It required just 9 states to bypass the old rules and jumpstart the new government through conventions of the people. Unlike the rest of the constitutional document, Article 7 is a relic of the past. It served its purpose to fire up the engine in 1788 and has zero relevant use today. It stands only as proof that the Constitution's power didn't come from politicians, but from the spark of we the people. Or, stated another way, the Constitution is Article 1, Legislative Power; Article 2, Executive Authority; Article 3, Judicial Oversight; Article 4, State Relations; Article 5, Amendment Process; Article 6, National Supremacy; Article 7, Ratification. In summary, written in 1787, the 7 articles which are the Constitution cover: legislative power, executive authority, judicial oversight, state relations, the amendment process, national supremacy, and ratification. The Bill of Rights. Written in 1791, the 10 amendments, which are the Bill of Rights, cover: first, free speech; religion; press; assembly; petition; second, self-defense; third, no quartering soldiers; fourth, no warrantless searches; fifth, due process rights; sixth, right to trial; seventh, civil jury trials; eighth, no cruel punishments; ninth, protects all your natural rights, even if they aren't specifically listed; and 10th, confirms that any power not given to the federal government stays with the states and the people. Or, stated another way, the Bill of Rights are: Amendment 1, free speech; religions; press; assembly; petition; Amendment 2, right to self-defense; Amendment 3, no quartering soldiers; Amendment 4, no warrantless searches; Amendment 5, due process rights; Amendment 6, right to trial; Amendment 7, civil jury trials; Amendment 8, no cruel punishments; Amendment 9, unenumerated individual rights amendment; X, reserved state powers; Section 5, closing. Today, in 2026, that shield is under fire from mass surveillance and government overreach. The Constitution only works if we the people stand as its final wall of defense. It was forged in the blood of unpaid veterans and defended by every veteran who has died in every war we've participated in, to ensure we would never be slaves to a tyrant. If you believe this document is worth defending, then stand with it. This isn't a spectator sport. It's a contract that requires your signature every single day. When you see rights being ignored, whether it's yours or your neighbor's, remember that a hole in one part of the shield weakens the whole defense. We need to remember our oaths to the Constitution. This has been Amanda B. Reckoned with, and you are listening to Through the Eyes of a Trucker, a Constitutionalist. And this YouTube video was presented by Outward Divergence. The government was made for us, not the other way around. Please like and subscribe to get notified of new videos. Thank you. God bless you and God bless our beautiful country. May it be here in another 250 years.